Welcome back to GMA 3. And power failures stemming from a historic winter storm left over 3 million Texans without power this week.
That's right. And here with an update on the crisis in Texas is Texas Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick. Lieutenant Governor, thank you for being with us. Obviously, this has been an incredibly challenging week for Texans. Give us the latest. What is the state of your state right now?
Well, thank you for having me on. It has been a long week for millions of Texans. At our high point, we had millions of people without power. Now we're down into the, as of the latest data I had, it changes every hour, under 300,000. And that is no longer because we're not generating power. That's where we have problems in certain areas where lines go from poles to the home that have to be repaired or lines are down. When it started on Monday, it was because we didn't have enough power being generated. Our wind turbines that on average can be 23% for the year. However, we're down to in single digits. Like right now, I just checked the meters before I came on. And right now we have about a 61,000 megawatt capacity, and wind is about 4,500 megawatts right now. So part of the problem, there's been a lot of discussion about this on renewables and reliable, is our renewables aren't reliable when we need them. So we've had very little wind power this week. Secondly, our wellheads where our natural gas comes from, the power of the generation stations were frozen, the gas and the lines were frozen. And what's clear is our generators that create energy for our state were not winterized the way the legislature expected them to be. And as of last week, we were told by ERCOT that oversees our grid that they were prepared for this winter freeze. And then they tell us 4 days later that we came within minutes of losing the entire grid. So we start investigations in the Senate. I'm president of the Senate. We start that this week, and we're going to get to the bottom of this and find out what the hell happened, and we're going to fix it.
Well, you talk about what the hell happened, but you could argue you've been warned about what the hell was going to happen for the past 10 years. When you had another severe storm in 2011, federal regulators came in and said everything you just mentioned should have been done 10 years ago. So why wasn't it, as you start an investigation now, which is important, but wasn't this something that was foreseeable and you were clearly warned about?
Yeah, well, TJ, we were warned about it after we had a tough year in 2011 in the winter. And I was not lieutenant governor at that time, but I was in the Senate. And we did pass on recommendations to the PUC and to ERCOT to make these recommendations. And to be very candid with you, every year we were told they were doing the work. We didn't have any problems in 2012, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, or 20. So as far as we knew what they told us, and since we didn't have any failures, we believe they were doing what was recommended. So including last week when they told us they were prepared. So obviously they weren't. And finally, the system did not hold up. And this is the most severe weather we've had, but that's not an excuse. The system should hold up. I mean, we had 10 inches of snow on the border yesterday in Del Rio. That's a record. It's never happened. But again, despite that, people want to know, not pointing fingers of why something didn't happen in the past or whose fault it is. Are we going to get it fixed? And yes, we are. And so now, instead of making recommendations to the power industry, we're going to make it shall do this. And number two, we've got to do a better job of inspecting and not taking the word of ERCOT, the umbrella that oversees this, to tell us that it's working. When they tell us last week that they're prepared and they're winterized and they're ready to go, we accept that to be the truth, especially when we haven't had a problem in the last 10 years. And it did not hold up.
And Lieutenant Governor, so let's speak to that investigation into ERCOT. You're clearly saying that they misrepresented or perhaps even downright lied about their ability to be prepared for something like this. So you've got an investigation going now. What should happen from this investigation? Should people be criminally charged? What do you think needs to happen going forward? A, to make sure it doesn't happen again, and B, that certain people who may need to pay the price for what did happen pay that price.
So, Amy, that's what an investigation is for. I'm not going to leap out in front and say whose fault it was, but I will say this to your point. You have three systems. You have those who generate power, the generators, and you have ERCOT that oversees them. So if ERCOT is telling leadership that they are ready and prepared as of last week for this winter storm, and it was worse than anyone expected, or it lasted longer for sure, but still, they said they were prepared. Either the generators were wrong or misled them, or ERCOT was wrong or misled them. I'm not going to go out and say someone purposely lied and covered up anything. The investigation will turn all that information and make that clear. But the information we were given was not correct, and we need to get to the bottom and hold those people accountable. We may need to start a brand new system. The ERCOT board clearly didn't do their job. You can't go, Amy and TJ, from last week saying we're ready, and on Monday, we're told we're minutes away from the entire system for 29 million people collapsing, which would take weeks and months to bring back online. So there's clearly an issue there, and we're going to have to find out what the issue is, and we're going to fix it. This should never happen. You have power outages. I think you have some in the East now. You had many in California, rolling brownouts. We've had our brownouts here. We've never had this experience before, and we've never had this cold before. But again, that's not an acceptable answer. Well, we've never had this before. We should have been prepared. We believed we were prepared. We were prepared, and we were not given accurate information. I'll leave it at that for now, but we'll know once the investigation is complete.
And sir, I have to ask, because you did mention California, and you were quick to mention California
Yes.
last summer in a tweet and saying that this is what happened when Democrats are in charge of your policy. You blamed them for those blackouts, for those rolling blackouts. Do you blame Republicans now? You said you were part of the Senate back then. You say you don't, but my question there is the Republicans have had a trifecta there in Texas for the past 20 years, the governor, the state house, and the state Senate. This has been a problem for a long time. Nothing has been done about it. Do you not apply the same responsibility to Republicans that you did to Democrats? Quickly.
Well, TJ, it hasn't been a problem for a long time. It became a problem this week. We believe that, we had not had a problem except for some rolling
Sir, in 2011, you were warned by federal regulators.
TJ, let me finish.
I want to, but I have to stop you. That was incorrect. To say that this only became a problem this week is not correct, sir.
TJ, I didn't come on your show to argue with you, okay?
No, well, sir, I'm not going to let you tell my viewers something incorrect. That is not the case at all, that this became a problem this week. In 2011, a bad storm happened. You were warned not to do this.
TJ, what we were told 11 years ago was to make these corrections and winterize the system. We made those recommendations, and for the last 10 years, to our knowledge, everything has worked because we haven't had this problem. We had some brownouts, but we haven't had this severe breakdown. The difference between California and Texas is this, TJ, and the Democrats and the Republicans. What we've learned in this, and this is not about a blame game. When all this started, by the way, it was Democrats in control that put it online, but no finger pointing. People don't want to hear this, TJ. They don't want to hear you and I arguing or Republicans, Democrats. They want their heat on. They want their water running, and they want to be able to go back to their life normal. And that's our job right now, and to take a thorough investigation, get answers, and fix the problem. My point is that this emphasis on the Green New Deal and more renewables, my whole point now is, and we lead, by the way, TJ, we're the leader in the country, and we're the 5th largest wind producer in the world. So we have taken action on the recommendations for renewables. And it needs to be part of our portfolio with nuke, with natural gas, with clean burning coal, and renewables. But what we discover is that they're not reliable. So today, AOC says, well, if Texas had more green energy, we wouldn't have this problem. The only reason we have power now to 95% of Texans is because of reliable power, which is clean coal, which is gas, and which is nuke. Right now, I told you, if you look at the data, you can go to ERCOT.com and look it up yourself and look at the current system. Less than 10% of what we have right now is wind, and solar is less than 2%. So if we were dependent on what I view as the Democrats' view, not pointing a finger at them, I'm just saying that's a different view. Their view is they want America to be 65, 75, 85% renewable. Right now, TJ and Amy, we would have millions of people in the dark. And we would have to wait for the sun to come out. Thank goodness it is today. We'd have to wait for the sun to come out or the wind before we could return the power. So whether it's California or Texas or America, you cannot end reliance on fossil fuels. You can't wipe them off the map because wind and solar are just not reliable. Some days it's 25%, 23%, 40%, and like today, it's next to nothing. So when we got up this morning, the peak hour, TJ and Amy, when we have the most power for the day, when people rise up in the morning, we hardly had any wind at all. So if we were relying on 75% wind, TJ, we would be in an even worse situation today. So the answer is We have a specific problem. We need to find the breakdown. We know what part of it was. Again, turbines froze, gas lines froze, equipment froze. We know all that. But we need to fix that problem so it doesn't happen again. But in terms of the renewables, the difference between California, they have this all the time, and other states that are going more and more green are having more and more problems. But we'll get this fixed.
Lieutenant Governor,
Hey,
finally,
thank you all.
Sorry, go ahead if you want to finish.
No, ma'am, go ahead.
So I wanted to ask you about Texas Senator Ted Cruz. He's, as you know, receiving quite a bit of backlash for his decision to take a trip to Cancun, Mexico with his family during these severe winter storms, these blackouts, people who were suffering. He goes on a trip to Mexico. He has come back and since said that obviously it was a mistake for him to go. What do you make of his decision?
I think his answer is correct. It was a mistake. We have been working here with little sleep for the last week, as have most Texans. He came back and he said he made a mistake. I take him at his word that he did.
All right, Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank
We
you,
appreciate
Amy,
it.
and thank you, TJ. Yes, thank you.